Tonight we're focusing in on Zoom with Galaxy AI on the new Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Ah, a baby tiger. Check out his claws as he prepares to pounce on that frog. Close one, but not as close as this Zoom. We can literally count the whiskers and... Oh look, Mum's here. Good thing I'm nowhere nearby. Go wild with Galaxy AI on the new S24 Ultra and zoom in on the epic day or night.
Get yours now at Samsung.com.
92% of households that join Peloton early in the year are still active a year later.
Because of cycling?
We also have a treadmill and Peloton Guide.
Guide? The thing that counts your reps?
Yeah, it turns your TV into an AI-powered personal trainer. And with training programs like A Stronger You, Peloton Guide takes all the guesswork out of working out. 92% stick with it. So can you. Try Peloton Tread, Guide, or Bikes risk-free with a 30-day home trial. New members only. Not available in remote locations. See additional terms at onepeloton.ca/home-trial.
I did not intend to spend an entire hour on chicken production and egg laying. You never know what you're going to get on this show. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number, 877-973-7425, should you wish to be a part of this program. Glad to have you. Now, listen to me. Heads up. In the next hour, two things are going to happen. One, Josh Dawsey from the Washington Post is going to be in studio with me for a little bit. And two, Governor Kemp is going to be calling into the program at 2:30. That's the governor of Georgia, to talk about his trip to Davos, among other things that people were critical of him for. And then three, I do want to spend a little more time on phone calls with you today. When Josh Dawsey, the Washington Post reporter, gets here, I want to actually open this up to you guys on the future of the GOP discussion. But I will be gone tomorrow. I have to speak. I've been asked to speak somewhere this weekend as part of the vast right-wing conspiracy, and I have to be on an airplane tomorrow to get there. That's all I can say about it. But I won't be here tomorrow because I got to travel to get to the event. Now, there are things I want to talk about. First of all, we have to talk about this. I will take your phone calls to this segment, I promise. But this story is just too good. I see it buzzing around here. Laugh before you even get to the story. Forget the headline. Let me just read it. At Twitter, the diversity, equity, and inclusion team is down to just 2 people from 30. A DEI worker who was let go from a popular rideshare company said their job search has stalled as other tech companies assess their finances. And just before getting the axe at separate tech giants this fall, 2 DEI specialists said leadership had stopped setting long-term goals for DEI entirely. The layoffs sweeping the technology industry are gutting diversity and inclusion departments, threatening company pledges to boost underrepresented groups in their ranks and leadership. Listings for diversity, equity, inclusion roles were down 19% last year, a bigger decline than legal or general human resources jobs saw, according to the findings from Textio, which helps companies create unbiased job ads. Only software engineering and data science jobs saw larger declines. Bloomberg News identified DEI professionals who lost their jobs in recent weeks at Amazon, Meta, Twitter, and Redfin. Many say they expect their responsibilities will go to former colleagues who remain or to employee resource groups, which often don't get compensated for that work. Oh, I'm sorry. Listen, I don't like to cheer on people losing their jobs. There, but by the grace of God, go you and I. But can we be honest? Diversity, equity, and inclusion jobs were part of a shakedown by the intersectional left towards corporate America. And corporate America went all in on DEI to prove not that they really cared about doing so, but to prove that they cared about caring. You put in a DEI team not to actually improve diversity, equity, and inclusion at your company, but to pretend. So there's this story that a couple billion people on the planet believe is true. Maybe it's not true, but a whole lot of people believe it's true. I'm one of the people who believes that it's true. A very, very, very long time ago, thousands of years ago, in the land of Egypt, there were a people enslaved. And their leader, a man named Moses, told them the God of all creation had come to him and said, I'm sending an angel of death. And the firstborn of everything in Egypt, the firstborn of the animal and the firstborn of the man, is going to die. And if you want the angel of death to avoid you, you go slaughter a lamb and you put the blood of the lamb on the post above your door. And when the angel of the Lord sees the blood, he will pass you by. To this day, the event is celebrated. It's called Passover. Happened thousands of years ago. People believe it is true. Some people dispute it. A couple billion people believe it's true. DEI departments are a secular version of the Passover story. It's like the white liberals who put the signs in their yard. In this house, we believe Black Lives Matter. Love is love. And when the marching horde of Black Lives Matters terrorists and Antifa come through the neighborhood, they say, oh, they have the sign in their yard. We must pass this by and burn down the neighbor's house instead. So what the DEI department is for, you put a DEI department in your law firm, in your corporation. When the angry wokes come and Al Sharpton is on the board, we're going to burn you down. So when we have DEI, and they're like, we must pass them by and go to the next corporation and shake them down. This one, it's already bought in. Literally in Louisville, Kentucky, after the George Floyd riots, Black Lives Matters people were going to small businesses and encouraging them to put Black Lives Matter signs in their windows. If they didn't want to be ransacked during the riots that were coming, they were told, put this in your window and you will be spared. This is the Passover story. I mean, it's secular Passover. Hoist the rainbow flag and you will be protected. What's going on here? And you know what? At some point, the rubber meets the road, and you got 30 DEI employees at Twitter. How many diversity, equity, and inclusion employees does the company need now that Elon Musk owns it? I mean, all these companies, they got these. Oh, the left says we need to have DEI. By God, we'll have DEI. I'm very familiar with one company in America, and the only thing I can see that gets produced are like spam, like email, delete, all the DEI, this today in DEI, this, today in DEI, this, the next day, and on, like delete. Just listen, I understand. You went to Barnard College. You have $300,000 in debt. And all you have to show for it is a women and gender studies degree with a minor in feminist queer theory and unshaved legs, and you need a job. And you're going into these companies in your comfortable shoes, and saying, I need a job, I am a feminist, and I demand that you hire me unless you hate women. Well, they don't hate women. They wish you might shave, but they don't hate women. And they don't want to be accused of anything. They don't want to be sued for not hiring you, so they hire you and they make you a DEI professional. And your entire job is every day to remind people, my company hired me and we are a diverse company committed to equality, equity, and inclusion. And women with comfortable shoes and very deep voices. And your company gets protected as a result. And you are left alone by the wokes. And you get on TV whenever there's a question about your company. And all the problems that the company had before you were hired, they still have. They're still, like, the C-suite is dominated by white men. Except for the one gender non-binary fluid woke person with the they-them pronouns in their email signature. They got that one person. Look, we're not all white men. We've got it too. They're like, oh, there's an it in the C-suite. They, them, we're good. We will pass you by. That's what all this diversity, equity, inclusion stuff is. And when the recession comes, you know what the company needs more than the DEI consultant? Revenue. All of these companies, and here's a dirty little secret. I've got several friends of mine who are in angel investing, venture capital and stuff, and for years and years now, they have prioritized growth. You grow as best you can. Forget about profit. I mean, we're making money on our investments while our loans, we're only paying back at a 2% interest rate. The stock market's going up 5%. It doesn't matter. Just grow the company. We'll sell stock to pay the loans. And so they're growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. And now suddenly interest rates are higher than what they're making in the stock market. And suddenly these companies that have been growing and growing and growing but not making profits are like, hold up, folks. We got to make a profit now. We got the balance sheet doesn't align anymore. We can't keep running up these massive debts, selling stock to pay the debts because the inflation and interest are outperforming the stock market, and we got to actually have a real business now where we actually make money for our investors. And when they look around, well, who are we going to lay off? The people who produce the product? Or the people who produce the emails to tell the people who produce the products what a great company we work for because we're diverse? It's going to be the email generators who get their jobs lost before the actual people who produce the valuable stuff at the company. I hate to tell the DEI people out there, but you're not as valuable to the company. I assume you already know this, but the rubber's met the road in a hard economy. And you know, there's a spillover. Well, okay, so I lied. I said I was going to call here. I'm sorry. I'm on a tirade now. There's a spillover effect here. For a very long time, this nation has had an easy time. We've had such an easy time, but we've been able to humor the crazy people out there who want to fight the pronoun wars. We've had an easy time in this country where we've been able to humor the college kids who think they should make $100,000 a year with a degree in puppetry arts. And the good times are coming to an end. A recession beckons. Interest rates are going up. The economy is slowing down. People have to make tough decisions. And some of you are unfortunately going to be on the receiving end of a bad, tough decision from a company. People who don't deserve to lose their jobs, and a lot of people who were excess capacity anyway, and they just plugged a hole somewhere to have their Passover event from Antifa running down the street burning things down. And at this point, they would rather Antifa burn down their business so they can collect an insurance policy to help cover the cost of a profit they're not meeting than to have to continue to pay the salaries of someone who's not actually producing anything for the company. The good times are coming to an end and the tough decisions are going to be made. And it's actually not that tough of a decision so that they can forestall making other tough decisions to begin the layoffs in the departments that were virtue signaling and not actually providing any benefit to the company. The weather outside might be frightful, but in your bed, you've got super soft Boll and Branch sheets to sleep under. They'll keep you comfortable. They're just the perfect weight. Summer, winter, fall, spring, the perfect weight, and they get softer every wash. And right now, with the weather so cold outside, you want to just be snuggled up inside. They're the perfect sheets under which you and your loved one can snuggle. And right now, you can get 15% off your first set of sheets when you use promo code ERIC at bollandbranch.com. That's Boll and Branch, BOLLAND branch.com. The promo code is ERIC, ERICK. Boll and Branch sheets are the perfect 100% organic cotton threads that get softer every wash. Not only do they get softer every wash, but the drape across your body is just perfect. I really enjoy mine. We've got them now on multiple beds in the house. We've just kept buying them because they're so soft. And every wash, they get softer. And right now, get 15% off your first set of sheets when you use promo code ERIC, ERICK, at bollandbranch.com. That's Boll and Branch, BOLLAND branch.com. The promo code ERIC. All right, now I will take some phone calls. My apologies. I really did intend to, but that DEI story just we had to go down that road. So I'm going to start first with Joe, calling about gas stoves. Joe, welcome to the show.
Hey, Eric. I'd like to comment on the gas stove
All right.
Discussion. I don't think anybody has thought through this in that in my house, I've got the stovetop, water heater, furnace, gas outdoor grill, gas log fireplaces, and the biggie is a generator that runs off of natural gas so that when our power goes out, and it does here in Atlanta, we've got power and can stay cool, warm, cook, etc. I mean, it's a cascading effect here.
Right. Oh, you're absolutely right. Listen, when I go to Hilton Head or up to the mountains, typically the places we stay, they either have a gas stove or they have a home generator if they have an electric stove. So during a hurricane, if the power goes out, you need a gas stove. In the mountains, the snow and ice take out the power lines in the mountains. Your gas stove and your gas fireplace are going to keep you warm. What's so ironic is that a lot of these people would much prefer you go buy a wood-burning stove and a wood-burning fireplace, which has far worse emissions for the environment. They haven't thought this stuff through. They don't really care because they live in an isolated bubble. No one was worried about the dangers of gas stoves until a few weeks ago when the left decided they thought they wanted to ban these things, and now suddenly everyone's always known how awful they are. They're in 40% of houses in America. The research study that showed how awful they were for emissions literally turned a gas stove on into a sealed room with no ventilation. Nobody does that. Okay, now, Cindy and the rest of you, Cindy, if you're listening to me, you've been on hold for a while. I promise when I come back, I will get your call out of the gate. I've only got 30 more seconds here, so I will take your phone calls. The phone number is 877-973-7425. At the bottom of the next hour, that is 35 after the hour, the governor of the state of Georgia is going to join me so I can ask him questions about hobnobbing with the elite to Davos a few weeks ago in Switzerland and see if he brought me back any Swiss chocolate. I'm not holding my breath on that. I will hold my breath for some of you. And while I'm holding my breath, you should go to omahasteaks.com and just fill up your card. Why? Because it's Valentine's Day coming. Have you done? My assistant texted me earlier. Let me just read you what my assistant said to me, because she knows me too well, I'm afraid. Where is this? Let's notice the passive aggressive. Let's not wait till the last minute to place your Valentine flower order. Well, I'm a procrastinator. You shouldn't procrastinate on Omaha Steaks. You should go there today, omahasteaks.com, and you should put in Eric as your promo code at checkout for $30 off. Minimum order applies, but Valentine's Day is coming up. Candace is right. It's coming up. It's February 14th, as it is every year, and today is Groundhog's Day. Don't repeat last year where you missed Valentine's Day. Go to omahasteaks.com today. Put Eric in as your promo code at checkout. Save $30 on your order. You can get chocolate cake. I love the chocolate. My wife loves the caramel apple tartlets. You get the New York strips. Big fan of their New York strips. You cannot get the same quality and deliciousness at your grocery store that you can get from Omaha Steaks, and have a 100% satisfaction guarantee because they want you as a lifetime customer. omahasteaks.com. Load up your cart, $30 off extra at checkout if you put Eric in as your promo code, ERICK. Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Every once in a while, it becomes clear when we strike a chord. The amount of emails I have gotten about chickens laying eggs, probably more than anything other than when I talk about battery-powered vehicles. Wow. Okay. As promised, I want to go next to Cindy, who has waited extraordinarily patiently until I could get to her. Cindy, welcome to the call.
Hi, Eric. Thank you for taking my call.
You're
I'm
welcome.
an avid listener and subscriber.
Well, thank you.
I just wondered if you'd heard this topic about, and it was on Fox News, if I'm allowed to say.
Oh, yeah.
On Brett Baer's show. He talked about how, the Biden administration, now their new deal down on the border is that there can only be 3 border agents on duty at a time, and they no longer can pursue the vehicles trying to escape. And if the vehicle happens to get into an accident, it's the border agent's fault.
I have heard about this, and look, Brett Baer is one of the best in the business, and
he truly is. And I'm sorry. And on top of that, I was wondering, being that the hearing was yesterday, the first hearing on the border, and they made it such a joke, pontificating about, just because you're concerned about the border, you're a racist or a bigot. Not, they don't even want to talk about the fentanyl or anything else. So, and then they do this new rule on the border.
Yeah, it's bad. And I guess first of all, I realized when I welcome you to the show, I said welcome you to the call. It's another show. But also, if people always ask me, if you're so concerned about truth and who's not telling truth on TV, what should I listen to? Brett Baer is a great show. For those of you who don't know what Cindy's talking about, if you missed it, let me read you this from the Epoch Times. Border Patrol agents will soon be limited in chasing vehicles that flee from them under new rules unveiled in January, expected to take effect in May. Agents must determine that vehicular pursuits are necessary and objectively reasonable and can terminate a pursuit at any time without fear of questioning from superiors. Agents are being told they must consider factors such as the seriousness of the reason for the pursuit and weather conditions. And then agents could themselves, if they misjudge, be held personally responsible for essentially they allow the government to second guess the decision that was made in real time on the ground, which is always a bad policy to be able to do something like this. This reminds me, Cindy, of in the city of Atlanta, Georgia. The former mayor, Bottoms, decided to prohibit the police from engaging in car chases in the city. You will all be unsurprised to learn that what happened was when bad guys did stuff and the police showed up, they took off at blistering speed and the police could no longer chase them. And street racing became a problem in Atlanta. Because the police couldn't do anything. They're racing down the street and the police can't stop them. It's become highly absurd. And this now is going to happen where these people are going to come crashing through the border in vehicles. If they can get through the line, take off, and the Border Patrol will do nothing to stop them. And because why would you? I mean, and this gets to the problem. Cindy, thank you for the phone call and thank you for being patient. 877-973-7425 is the phone number. Let me just give you the issue here. If the government gets to second guess the decision of the agent and say the agent exercised poor judgment, if you get to do that, what agent is going to want to engage in any chase, because there's always a chance it goes south. And and I know if it goes south, the government's going to say, well, not our problem. It was the agent. We're going to fire him. This is a problem. One Border Patrol agent says, this is their quote, "They're incentivizing us to not do anything, which places everything on sheriffs, local law enforcement, and Department of Public Safety in Texas. It's just another step in the way of destroying the sovereignty of the nation." This isn't a good idea. Look, so you all know the phrase sovereign immunity or qualified immunity. The general rule, and it's a rule that frustrates a lot of people, is that if a law enforcement agent does something that may have been against the law, but a reasonable person in his position would not know is against the law, he gets qualified immunity. So that the next time someone does exactly what that agent did, and a court has said it was unreasonable, then that agent doesn't have qualified immunity. But the first time, the agent does. Qualified immunity shields the police because you do have these issues of civil rights that sometimes get complex among the Supreme Court. And so the way the Supreme Court balances it is this idea of qualified immunity. And for you lawyers, forgive me, I'm taking some shortcuts to explain this in a reasonable amount of time. But if what you did was against civil rights laws, but you didn't know it, and you had no reason to really know it under the parameters of court cases, you can't be found liable. But when the next person engages in the exact same pattern you did, that person will be liable. Well, when the U.S. government releases regulations and says, here are the criteria by which you can engage in a chase, and if you don't meet all the criteria, you can't engage in the chase. Well, your agents aren't going to engage in the chase because the government can say, well, they didn't meet the criteria, qualified immunity doesn't apply, you can sue the agent. That's not good. They're putting the burden on the Border Patrol agents. This is a really dumb decision by the government, which just doesn't take this stuff seriously at all. Part of the problem here as well is, and this gets to the topic that I wanted to talk about right now anyway, is the wrap-up of the progressive regime within the Biden administration. Now, I'm not suggesting, and don't hear me say, that the Biden administration is suddenly lurching to the right. They're not. But they want to try to moderate their appearance even as they don't want to moderate what they're actually doing. The reason here is pretty straightforward. What's going on is Brian Deese, the director of the National Economic Council or whatever in the White House, is leaving. Ron Klain is leaving as well. Ron Klain had been the biggest person humoring the White House, humoring progressives rather at the White House. Brian Deese was the director of the National Economic Council. He played a role in the economic policies of this administration, including its massive stimulus bill that sparked inflation. Brian Deese was the head of ESG for BlackRock, I think, something like that. He was tied into the ESG movement. Came to the White House, helped implement a bunch of progressive policies in the White House, including ignoring liberal economists like Larry Summers, who was saying this is going to spark inflation. The Biden White House sparked inflation with their stimulus plan. They catered to the progressives, and now Deese is leaving and Ron Klain is leaving. Here's what's going on. First of all, this is normal pattern of behavior in every White House. Typically what happens is a White House, I have never worked in a White House, but I have a lot of friends who have. I have friends who worked for Reagan. I have some friends who worked for Clinton. I have a good number of friends who worked for Bush. Don't really know. Maybe one or two people I know worked for Obama. Wouldn't really consider them friends per se. But then I got a lot of really good friends who worked in the Trump White House. It is a high-pressure, high-stakes job. You are working for and advising the leader of the free world. And in working for and advising the leader of the free world, it's a 24/7, 365 job. Presidents don't really get vacations, and presidential staff don't get much vacation. I have friends of mine who worked for Donald Trump who could get a phone call from him at 3 o'clock in the morning. And it begins to wear on you. It really begins to wear on your family. I mean, I think about my job where my family sometimes thinks I'm more committed to work than them, and sometimes I give that impression. Something I got to work on all the time. But with the White House, I mean, you are at the beck and call of the most powerful man on planet Earth. And you work that way, and you work crazy long hours. And the typical stint at a White House is about 2 years. When the midterms come, it is a pattern going way, way back, probably to the Johnson administration, that when the midterms come, you have a choice. You either commit yourself and your family to get all the way through the next presidential election, or you leave. A lot of White House staff, they get the president through the midterms and they say, okay, I'm exhausted. I'm going to go back to the private sector now. You replace me with someone who can get you through your presidential election or to the end of your term if you're a second-term president. So it's natural that this would happen. The White House Chief of Staff position is the most intense. The White House Chief of Staff position burns you out. Presidents blow through chiefs of staff. I mean, just think about Donald Trump. I mean, how many chiefs of staff did Donald Trump have? And that was a super high-stress position for Trump. But every White House goes through that. They burn through chiefs of staff. It exhausts them. The chief of staff position was actually created. When was it? It was in 1961. Yeah, with Harry Truman, created the assistant to the president position. And the assistant to the president position became the White House Chief of Staff position. Roosevelt had various assistants as well. Every president's had groups of assistants, but Truman decided to designate one person. And the entirety of the White House operation flows through that one person to get to the president. Some presidents do it a little different. Like Steve Jobs, very famously, the org chart at Apple was Steve in the middle and all arrows point to him. A lot of presidents, like, for example, Donald Trump, had multiple people who could come to him at any time. They didn't have to get the chief of staff's permission. But a lot of presidents, everybody goes through the chief of staff, and his job is to sort everything for everyone. And it wears them out. I mean, consider, for example, with Trump, he had Reince Priebus, and then he had John Kelly, then he had Mick Mulvaney, then he had Mark Meadows. With Obama, he had Rahm Emanuel, and then he had Pete Rouse, then Bill Daley, then Jack Lew, then Dennis McDonough. Or you had with George Bush, somewhat anomalously, he had Andy Card, and then he had Josh Bolton, which told you a lot about the temperament of George W. Bush, particularly in a high-stakes environment like that. Bill Clinton had Mac McClarty, Leon Panetta, Erskine Bowles, John Podesta. And you go through these. It is rare, the Bush administration, the chiefs of staff positions lasted largely for terms. I mean, Andy Card was there from the beginning until the midterm of the second term. It's really a rare job. He was a unique personality, able to do that. Ronald Reagan, I mean, just to give you one more sense of this, Ronald Reagan had James Baker, Donald Regan, Howard Baker, Ken Duberstein, John Sununu, Sam Skinner. James Baker came back to round things out. It was a whirlwind tour. That was Reagan into Bush. It was just both of them had a whirlwind tour. Bush went through 3 in one term. Reagan went through 4 in 2 terms. Some overlap there with James Baker. It's an exhausting position. So, of course, there's going to be that turnover. But what's also happening here is the first half of the first term of Joe Biden catered to progressives. He got progressives on board, rallied them against Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. He had to give them payback. Well, now, when you look at what happened in 2022, we focus on the crazies of the GOP blowing up, but in the Democratic primaries, it was the crazies of the Democratic Party that got blown up. The far left members of the party, when they challenged incumbents, they all lost. And in open seats, they all lost. Big signal that even a lot of Democratic voters are tired of progressives. You add in the independent voters who will vote in 2024, they're tired of the progressives and the crazy GOP. So Biden is also engaging in this pivot, taking advantage of the staff rollover to engage in a pivot to make him look and sound more moderate, even if he isn't, to appeal to those moderate, middle-of-the-road voters so that he can then paint the Republicans as the sole extremists. This is all part of a pattern that comes with the natural rhythms and cycles of a White House, but it's escalated here, and that may cause him to have hell to pay on the left if he cuts deals with Republicans. Now, I want to cut a deal with you on Advantage Gold. I need to tell you, I am today years old. Advantage reached out to me because I was talking to you yesterday about them. Said you can get an IRA. In fact, right now, Advantage Gold wants to give you a free gold IRA investment kit and how you can use precious metals to supplement your retirement. With the stock market, with inflation, everything else going on, precious metal pricing tends to be stable. A lot of people put peace of mind in it, particularly those who do it themselves. And Advantage Gold is TrustLink's #1 highest rated gold company 7 years in a row. They got the best prices, the best staff, the best IRA department. I am today years old, though, learning from them that you may be able to also use Advantage Gold to take advantage of gold for your 401k, which I had no idea about. You should call them 800-450-2566. 800-450-2566. Hang on. Caught a bug in my throat or something. Nonetheless, so Advantage Gold, I've been trying. A lot of you have asked, can I find another gold company, one that would be good? Advantage Gold is TrustLink's #1 highest rated gold company for 7 years in a row, which means there's somebody you can do business with. They don't give you certificates. They actually teach you how to use real precious metals in your investing for retirement, your IRA, your 401k, your general retirement fund. Reach out to them. See if your current retirement account qualifies. They are amazing. They can answer questions for you. Stuff I didn't like 401k. I had no idea. They're just a fountain of information on this. With the stock market doing what it's doing, with inflation eating up your retirement savings, 800-450-2566. Call Advantage Gold. Tell them I sent you and just talk to them. They really are knowledgeable. They're way more knowledgeable than I am about this stuff. I mean, they answered questions I had and then pointed stuff out I wasn't even thinking of. So go to Advantage Gold, 800-450-2566. Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson across the nation. This hour of the program brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan, wherever you are nationwide. If you're in charge of your business's finances and you want your business to grow, reach out to First Liberty. They might be able to help you where a lot of banks are telling small and mid-sized businesses no now or running them through all sorts of hurdles and paperwork. First Liberty makes their own decisions. If you're buying a building, building a building, expanding a franchise, buying one, reach out to them. FirstLibertyGA.com. FirstLibertyGA.com. Okay, I want your help. I want to outsource this to you. Josh Dawsey, actually really good reporter from the Washington Post who covers presidential politics. He's in Georgia. He's talking to suburban voters about the future of the party. There does seem to be, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution has a big story today that Georgia Republicans seem to be at the leadership level moving on from Donald Trump. Even some of those candidates he endorsed in 2022 are not willing to rush out to endorse him this time. So the question is, what's the state of the party and where are you? Should the party pivot to DeSantis, stick with Trump, look somewhere else? I got a reporter here who actually wants to hear what actual voters think, so you can call in and tell us, 877-973-7425. And I want to talk about, what does the GOP actually stand for anymore? So give us a call. I'll let you have your input here on the future of the GOP. And I got some thoughts on what it does and doesn't stand for, having been an elected Republican at one point in my life. Most miserable job I ever had. So you're listening nationwide to the Eric Erickson Show. Phone lines open, 877-973-7425. I'll be back with a Washington Post reporter listening into our conversations, eavesdropping on us, something I haven't allowed before.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.